Is Blazor suitable for production? Let's start with the fact that I have been creating projects with Blazor since its early versions, and it's known that the beginnings were not easy. However, with each version, Blazor has improved its weaknesses. Developing applications with it has become increasingly pleasant, and there are fewer and fewer drawbacks. So, when it comes to Blazor from .NET 8 and above, there's no doubt that this version is suitable for production. Blazor has addressed its major flaws from previous versions, and in my opinion it is currently the #1 on the market. I definitely recommend it and believe it is suitable for production. As for versions below .NET 8, specifically .NET 6 and .NET 7, despite their flaws, I also believe they are suitable for production. I have personally created several applications in these versions for myself and my clients, and they have been working flawlessly to this day. Therefore, you don't need to worry about using Blazor in these versions for production. However, here I am talking about Blazor WebAssembly. When it comes to Blazor Server in these lower versions of .NET, I don't like the slight delay I mentioned earlier because it makes the application seem a bit laggy. So, in these versions, I focused on Blazor WebAssembly. I can now show you what it looks like in reality. In the first module, I showed you an example of an SPay application, and it was my Create an Online Store application. It is an application created in Blazor WebAssembly in .NET 6, and it is very pleasant to work with. The only drawback of this application is the initial connection, which takes a fraction of a second. However, for users of such an application, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem, especially since users spend a lot of time in this application, and all subsequent requests are very fast and smooth, which is the most important thing in such applications. This application also creates an online store, and in this case the store is created in ASP.NET Core MVC because Blazor wouldn't be suitable for such an application at that time. However, from .NET version 8 onwards, it definitely is. In the .NET 6 version, this wouldn't have worked, but customers shouldn't wait too long for the first connection to the online store. SEO for the store is also very important, so Blazor WebAssembly wasn't an ideal solution at that time. Blazor Server didn't work smoothly either, so I had to create it in ASP.NET Core MVC. Nowadays, I would choose Blazor Web App without hesitation, which combines all hosting models, and this is the type of application we will discuss in Module 8. As for the admin panel, here you can see how it looks in Blazor WebAssembly. We have a dashboard, various charts displayed, and we can navigate to orders. As you can see, they are displayed quickly, and the transition is very smooth. We also have a nice table, the ability to preview, edit, delete orders, and nice pop-ups. We can add a new order, and when adding an item, notice that we do it in a pop-up. All of this is done in C# in Blazor WebAssembly. Similarly, if you go to products, we have nice HTML controls. We can bold, italicize, or underline text, and we also have advanced controls. We can choose a photo, automatically calculate values, so if I enter the gross price, the net price, amount, and VAT are automatically calculated. All of this is done in C# without using JavaScript. Sure, we can also check some statistics, and as you can see, everything is nicely displayed here. This advanced application was also created in Blazor WebAssembly, specifically in the older version, .NET 6. As you can see, it works quite well. We can also take a look at the code. We have several projects here, including the admin panel I showed you, created in Blazor WebAssembly. There are quite a few pages. For example, if you go to the pages section, we can look at a sample page like shop or newsletter. Here, you can see how customers subscribed to the newsletter are displayed in the application. It's set up just like I'm showing you in the training. Then we have the application logic, which is nicely separated into different entities. For example, there's a newsletter folder with all the commands and queries used for the newsletter logic. If we go to the commands, here you have the add, newsletter, command, handler, and as you can see, we have some creation of a new object, adding to the database, and saving in the database. Next, we have the domain layer, which is the domain layer, meaning all the entities and models based on which the tables in the database are created. Then we have the infrastructure, which includes various external dependencies and services, such as Entity Framework Core. If we look at persistence, we have, for example, application, DB, context, which is our context class. Next, we have the shared project, which is the shared code for both front-end and back-end. And here we mainly have models that are used in both Blazor and Web API. This is what I described to you earlier, that when you created projects in Angular with a back-end in ASP.NET Core, you had to duplicate it. But in Blazor, we can share this code. Similarly, if we look at the newsletter, we have a similar division as in the application layer with commands, queries, and DTO objects. If we go to the add, newsletter, command, here is the command, and we have some data validations. Next, we have the UI project, and this is the code for this online store specifically in ASP.NET Core MVC. However, it is designed so that both the Blazor application and ASP.NET Core MVC can indirectly work on the same code. The last project is the Web API, which is the server logic that is called from the client, i.e. in Blazor. So to trigger an action from the server, we actually call an endpoint from this API, which is created in ASP.NET Core Web API. This is the architecture we will also be creating in this module, meaning we will focus mainly on the Blazor WebAssembly application, but will use this architecture. I will discuss all the details and dependencies with you in the next lesson.